Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Voice Notes. Have you ever wondered how I come up with my unique ideas? Why I forgo or include certain tech cards that others do not? Today I will unveil some of these secrets. With this, you too can develop the skills to come up with your own brand new ideas for the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, be it modern or retro. Oh, would you look at that? It's time to duel. Kuraz the Light Monarch has always intrigued me as a card. In 2016 we had the EDM deck, which was Extra Deck Monarchs. And in that deck Kuraz was one of the best monarchs because you could pop your own domain or return, which no longer locked you from the extra deck, so you could enter into your rank 5 place, or rank 6 I suppose, with Eder and a Kuraz. Or if you started with the extra deck cards like Brilliant Fusion, you could pop that and just get a free pot of greed in return. But Kuraz was actually released way before then. This card came out in 2008 in Light of Destruction. So in Edison Format, there's even people trying to play Kuraz decks, usually abbreviated as KFC, which is Kuraz Field Control, with the notion of Kuraz popping Gear Town makes it not miss timing, so you actually get to draw 1 or 2 cards and summon an ancient Gigavise dragon from your deck. So this is just a sample deck list, but the decks usually look pretty much the same. You play some amount of Kuraz, some field spells, and just some supplementary engines that are good with either of them, or just good cards like DD Warrior Lady in this list, for example. Then there's some more synergies like Black Garden. When your opponent summons monsters, you get tokens to your field. You can then pop these tokens with Kuraz to draw cards, and you can use Black Garden's effect, if there's 3 of its tokens on the field, to bring back the Kuraz from the grave. Since 3 Rose tokens is 2400 attack, you can pop them all and summon Kuraz. And the summon happens at the last point of its resolution, so it won't miss timing. Then Kuraz, despite having Monarch in its name, it's kind of a fake Monarch, since you can use it on Special Summon and Normal Summon, not Tribute Summon, unlike Caius, Testalos, Risa, any Monarch really. So you can also pay 1000 with Mausoleum of the Emperor and just Normal Summon Kuraz, pop some cards and draw 2. So yeah, that's the premise of the typical KFC or Kuraz Field Control deck, and it's quite bad. It's pretty much a tier 3 deck with no hope of ever winning a major event. So I started tinkering with some different ideas to try to make Kuraz viable. I wasn't sure really which way to go, so I suppose I went in all different directions I could think about. For the first deck, I started with just like a Gigavise version of KFC, with the theory that if my Kuraz gets banished, either via something like Cyber Valley or it eats a bottomless, or if we ourselves could banish this card with something like Chaos Sorcerer, Soul of Purity and Light, or Phoenix Blade, just to get it into the banish zone. Because if you DDR back Kuraz, you can pop both Kuraz and DDR and draw 2, which was a pretty cool interaction. You could also use DDR to summon anything really, just to pitch the Kuraz, because if the Kuraz is in your hand and you don't want to normal summon it, you'd rather have it in the graveyard if you're aiming to go Black Garden. And if we play a combo deck, we can activate Black Garden whenever we want to, summon 3 times, so we get 3 tokens, and then we can use with Black Garden. However, the Black Garden pops all plants on the field, so it's not the best in a plant combo deck. You would have to sequence your combo in such a way where you end on a non-plant and then use Black Garden, which isn't really an issue, right? Like, you can do Lone Fire into Lone Fire into Giga Plant, Supervise, bring back Lone Fire into any of these, and like, you can activate the Black Garden whenever you want to, and you can easily get as many tokens or as few tokens as you would like. And you also have Gigaplant, which is 2400 attack, which is also a Black Garden target if you have 3 tokens on the field. And whilst this deck felt powerful, it was just the same issues that Gigaplant had. Even if I tried to max out on Supervise and build a deck like a Gigavise combo deck, it still had the issues of Gigaplant. If I went more so in the control route, which you see here with more traps, less focus on Supervise, as I'm not playing Super Solar Nutrient, I'm not playing 3 copies of Supervise. This is just a hidden armory target, where the idea is to go Power Tool into GDR and just Titanial spam with Mark of the Rose, and just play this more as a control deck. I like that approach a bit more. If you go first and open Black Garden or Valley, these cards both can buy you some time. If you activate Black Garden and your opponent tries to, I don't know, Greffer Armed Wing you, that's only 2000 because they're half. And then you also get 2 tokens, which will just eat their attacks. So they can't really push for a lot of damage. And it also turns off DDV for what it's worth, unless they set Sirocco. But I like the idea of using Black Garden to buy some turns. This just wasn't a fit. Then I went on to just trying regular KFC, which was pretty much Gear Town and Kuraz and having that interaction, but I decided that the plants weren't really good enough and I wanted another engine, so I played the cat package. With Monk, you have a lot of spells, and Monk also has 800 attack, so if this guy's in the graveyard, you can bring it back with Black Garden. And I suppose I should touch on Cyber Valley as well. The reason why Valley is good in this deck is because it's quite a slow deck. With Valley, you can buy some turns by not having them deal damage to you. There's quite a cool interaction with Black Garden, where if you activate Black Garden and your opponent tries to play, you will get a token to your field. This token can then be banished with Valley's effect. You get a free Pot of Greed. Kinda the issue here is though that if you have a Black Garden on the field, your opponent can just not play, or they can set monsters. And if they don't play, then Air Golem is really good. But then if you summon Air Golem and you don't have anything established beforehand, they'll just get a token, and then the Air Golem can't connect directly. It can't even kill the token, because the Air Golem is 800 and the token is 800. So I wasn't a huge fan of this idea either. Then I came to the realization that I want to summon a monster and then activate Black Garden. I don't want to just activate Black Garden and pass. So I tried this hero variant, I suppose. It's not really heroes, I guess, it's just like a dark deck where you play a bunch of bombs in Dad and Caius. I still want to try playing some other field spell so I could warrant playing Terraforming. I knew I didn't just want Black Garden as my sole field spell, because this card, whilst being cool, unless you have the setup or the particular game state that favors Black Garden, doesn't do anything. Like into an established field, Black Garden is horrible. But what I liked about this version of the deck is you can go get on into Monk, they get a token from Black Garden, then you can pop the token, bring back Monk, Monk into Cat for 2 Air Golems, and then you can make like Arcanite, pop some cards, or you can just swing and then make 2 7s in main phase 2. This deck felt a bit better, but again, there were just so many bad cards in the deck that I didn't really want to draw, unless I drew them in tandem with other cards. And it just didn't feel very good. When you could go off, it felt good, obviously, but when you couldn't, it was just horrible. And if you look at this deck, there's no real good way to push with just one card. Even if I were to play more heroes, just Stratus on its own is not good enough, I don't think. Like 1800 is actually not that good in Edison Format, unless you can back it up, or unless it's something like a Kaiku that has a floodgate effect, because the best decks play this card, or they play Monarchs. So 1800 stat line is actually not that good. It's just attacking over Greffer, but like if they have Armed Wing, they're just gonna Armed Wing attack over Stratus and then Greffer you directly. So yeah, this deck just lacked good ways to play. Then I went in the direction of trying to play a 1-card combo deck, I suppose you could call it. It's not really a combo, but like being able to play with 1 card so that if I don't have my combo with Black Garden, it's fine. But if I do, it just makes my hand that much better. And naturally, the way this card works is that in order to use Black Garden at its full potential, you want something that has either 800, 16 or 24, preferably a deck with at least 800 and 1600, so you have plenty of targets to bring back with its effect. So I landed on Gladiator Beasts, because Equest and Sam Knight have a 1600 and Mermelio has 800. So you can actually bring back your GBs with Black Garden. And if you activate Black Garden and you summon Laquari, which I play 4 copies of, or Darius, it'll be bigger than the token, and then you can attack and you can tag out. And like I talked about before, I wanted to play 1 more field spell at least for my terraforming, and I decided that Ancient Forest is actually pretty good as my second field spell. These are just a consideration. This deck is not really finalized, it was just some ideas that I had. But you could play Mausoleum of the Emperor as well, because it works with Kuraz. But then I would probably want some more normal summons, which are bigger, like Caius or Vanity's Fiend, but those cards don't really work in the GB deck. So I kind of scrapped this idea too. Although I really liked some of the interactions here with the GBs with Black Garden and Ancient Forest. This deck definitely felt like the strongest out of the ones I tested up until this point, but it was quite flawed still. Then I decided I wanted to play a stronger deck with a higher ceiling. So I tried Frogs, with the idea that if you substitute combo, or you substitute into swap Frog into Treeborn, even though the Treeborn is dead under Black Garden, this is at least 2 summons. So if you can either summon something beforehand, or your opponent summons something thanks to Black Garden and maybe you dealt with their monster, there was a way you could get enough tokens to where you can summon Kuraz from the grave. But yeah, this just wasn't it either. There was, again, too many moving pieces, not enough defensive cards for what the deck was trying to do. This deck just struggled way too much into what your opponent actually had, like trying to pick apart their board and win reasonable games. Again, you can see here I was only really on 38 cards, These are just throw-ins of cards that I want to consider. Maybe I wanted to do 2 Lad and 2 Soul Exchange, which is why they're in my side deck, because that's just how I build these decks generally. I just throw things together just to try to get a feel of some cards and have some cards in my side deck to where I can revisit them in the future, or perhaps play some other games with signing them in and then just get a feel for how these cards actually perform. Because I did like the idea of Mausoleum with Lad, Mausoleum with Kuraz, Mausoleum with Ancient Gigavise Dragon, and even Vanity's Fiend post side. So this gave your deck a way to push with Ancient Gigavise Dragon. The frogs helped you summon Kuraz, and you also played Caius because you wanted more payoffs for the frogs. It was okay, but it didn't perform as I wanted to. I even tried playing less frogs, like doing 1 or 2 subs to Toad, 1 Treeborn, because if I just want to see 1 frog, I can play less of them. But then I wanted to try playing Avarice, and if I play Avarice, then I want to play 3 subs to Toad, so I can sub-combo Avarice, draw 2, and then continue sub-comboing. But yeah, this was just feeling like I was playing a worse frog deck, and I wasn't really getting to where I wanted to. Whilst the KFC would just be a fun deck, I at least wanted to explore the idea of, is there something I can actually do here where I can apply a lot of pressure with the Kuraz Geartown interaction? I can play a engine that gives me a good matchup into a larger field of the metagame, to where the deck might actually be a real pick for some particular tournament where you don't want to play any of the big 3 decks because there's too many hate cards against them. But then something like this just falls into the trap of people playing Pulling the Rug, people playing Royal Oppression, or anything really, and it doesn't solve any of the weaknesses of the aforementioned frog decks. So after this, I just realized I wanted to play more normal summons that help fend off my opponent. If I can't do Blackguard on turn 1 and stop my opponent that way, maybe if I just summon large attack bodies, they can't really push through and I can buy some turns that way. And I wanted more cards that actually worked with Kuraz. So if I wanted to play Kuraz, I need to sometimes be able to normal summon Kuraz and have it not be awful. I also wanted like real cards to dig into as well. So I tried building a Volcanic deck. I like the interaction of Kuraz being able to pop your Blaze Accelerator, and the fact that Rocket gave you more starters. If you go Rocket, search Blaze Accelerator, and play Black Garden, what does your opponent really do? They can't summon anything to beat over Rocket because of Black Garden, and if they don't do anything, you can just keep poking for 19. Or perhaps you can get in with a cat play. And again, the Monk here is really good, because you have 10 spells in total, and then you have 3 Stratos for a spell. And the spell can also be recycled with Rocket, of course. So this felt a bit better, but I still had the issue of my deck just didn't do enough. I also liked the idea of playing more discard traps, and playing Shell warranted playing multiple copies of Karma Cut and or perhaps Raigeki Break, because if Kuraz is in my hand, I want to be able to pitch this so I can then use Black Garden. But the issue I keep running into is Kuraz has always felt like the worst card in my hand whenever I draw it. I can summon it, but what am I drawing into? What am I popping? Do I pop my own Kuraz and lose my 2400 body? Then I probably have an empty field and they can just attack me directly. I don't want that. I don't want to lose the game. If I'm doing Kuraz to draw into additional cards, I need those cards to either be able to extend the game further, like special summons, traps to protect my life points so I can play next turn, or I need to play in different ways to where summoning the Kuraz is just a bonus. For example, like Cyber Valley in the Amaryllis deck, where you can go end phase, Wing Blast, pitch Dandy, hit their card, Valley, draw 2, and perhaps bring back Amaryllis in the end phase and pass, and you have like a Dandelion token, you have Amaryllis. Or maybe you summon Titanial the turn before this, and the Valley was just drawing into engine cards to where if they break the Titanial, you can then bring it back with Mark into DDR, or Miracle Fertilizer, or you drew into Lone Fire. But with this deck, you're just drawing into normal summons that don't really contest the board. And yeah, I considered cutting Cyber Valley, but the issue was the reason why I'm playing Black Garden is partially because of Cyber Valley. If I draw Garden and Valley, I can play Black Garden. If my opponent then plays, I can Valley banish my token and draw 2. And if my opponent doesn't play, well then I get to prolong the game. And I believe as the better player, if I can prolong the game, that is to my benefit. The more cards we both have, the more decision trees we can create. And the more decision trees favors the better player, because there's more things to do. And if you have been in more situations beforehand, you maybe know how to navigate them, you maybe can see things others cannot, and that might be too intimidating to someone who's not as familiar with the format, or just with the game in general, and that would obviously favor the better player. But again, this deck just wasn't it. And that brings me to this video. I have one more idea left I'm gonna tinker a bit more with before I reveal it, but from my testing and my theory on the deck, it does seem very promising, and it might be the best KFC deck in Edison Format. But before I finalize my decision, I would like to know what you guys think. Does any of you have any experience with KFC decks in Edison Format? Do you have a particular list or a group of cards that you feel is very good in this deck? To go back to this dark deck, I have seen the version people played with the Armageddon Knight into Summoner Monk, and I don't think he played Valley in that deck, nor did he play as many trap cards as I do. So that's something I want to try as well, to see if going the combo routes might be a bit better than the control route. But ultimately, this is not a KFC deck. The whole goal was trying to play Kuraz and try to break Kuraz, even though it might not be the best version of Black Garden we can play. So preferably I do want to play Kuraz to some extent. And I'm not trying to pop my own Legacy of Yatagarasu, because that just leans into the problem of Kuraz not doing enough. And if you do that, what cards are really drawing into? So perhaps Kuraz is the best fit in a combo deck. Maybe not in a Gigavise combo deck, but maybe some other combo deck. But that is what I have for now. If you know anything about the KFC deck, let me know in the comments. But hopefully what I have going is actually good enough, and I actually came up with a good conclusion of the KFC deck. But I suppose we'll have to see. And until then, take care and have a good rest of your day.
If you enjoy my content, make sure to also subscribe to my second channel, linked in the description box down below.